Step number 3, accelerate your authority. So what we're looking here to do is find ways that, to Meghna's point earlier, we don't have to take a year to write a book. It can be worthwhile to write a book. I'm an author. I've done 12 different books or courses. But you don't have to do that to establish your leadership. So how can we find other ways to actually give you, to your point, the credential very quickly that amplifies your microphone? What can we do? And so I'm going to give you an example on how do you get on a national TV show without prior experience. I want to give you an example, and this is an example from the first time I ever got on CNN, and to show how it's done. And that's one example, and then we'll kind of brainstorm other ways that you can establish expertise quickly, sometimes in a matter of weeks or months, not years. So the answer to the question, which is, how do you get on a national TV show without prior experience, is you give them what they want that only you can supply. You give them what they want that only you can supply. So how can you do that? So here's one way. You build a simple data program that makes you value to the media that covers you. That can be as simple as at PR Hacker, we do a ton of surveys, right? We do surveys like almost every week, asking questions, finding results like that. What does your drink say about you? There's lots of tools, mobile apps now, other things where you can do this. And it doesn't have to be an expensive endeavor. Maybe there's something in your company or your brand or your startup where you have something else that's interesting. Maybe you have access to examples or stories. Maybe it's a great human interest story. Maybe it's something where we had a very successful campaign was based around a client who his sister was diagnosed with a possibly terminal disease, and he invented a new system to crowdsource ideas to solve that issue. And we used that as a story because we had access to him, and we used that as a human interest story to spread. So how can you, for whatever it is, and this could be a TV show, this could be speaking at a conference, this could be something else, quickly have something that they need or they want that only you can provide. That's the kind of the first step. And let me give you a couple examples. So we have a little cottage industry at PR Hacker at making institutes. And that is, we'll make institutes for brands. And by the way, Cody, I always think that picture there on the Marchex, I always think it looks like Mary. I don't know what you think. It sort of looks like your wife on, yes? I don't know, I always think so. So Marchex, where we did this institute where we actually said, okay, this is a company that basically tracks the connection from internet when you click to call. If you sort of do an internet search and you click, they have metrics on that. And they can track what is being said in a conversation if it came from a click to call. So we did this looking at study finds Ohioans curse more than anyone else in the nation, right? So we were able to use their data to find an interesting result that could spread. So this is an example of an institute that gives us something that no one else has that is interesting that media could want. Here's an example for one of our clients, RepairPal, which is where you can find the best auto repair with a quality mechanic. And so we actually use their data to say Utah ranks 11th for most affordable car repairs. And we created the RepairPal Institute as a vehicle to help do this. So finding ways to encapsulate your experience, your expertise in something that is unique and valuable is the fastest way to get in front of audiences and in front of places that you would otherwise can't get. So what we really think about is it's kind of a sliding scale between, are you someone on one hand who is really well known, has really strong credentials, you're like President Obama. Right? You're President Obama, it doesn't really matter what your thought leadership idea is, people are going to have you on one extreme. Now the other extreme is you're someone with no background, no record. In fact, you're still, in, I don't know, middle school, and you want to be a thought leader on something. So for that, we better have a really interesting or novel or something kind of idea that only we have access to that can spread. And by the way, the example I remember in college for myself was I thought I wanted to be a syndicated political columnist. And so I remember I pitched the Boston Globe and the Oregonian to send me to the 1996 Democratic and Republican conventions. I didn't have anything to offer other than the fact that I knew the youth perspective. That was my thing. So I got sent as a youth columnist to this, and I did a couple quick surveys on what youth thought about politics to establish myself as an expert quickly in it. And then I was able to go to those conventions and remember sitting there, 15 feet from the presidential candidates accepting their nomination, right? So, that's the other side of the spectrum. So if you can find unique things that only you have that they want and package it up so it's nice for them, that enables you to get to those audiences. So this is an example from the first time I ever appeared on CNN. And the question was, I want to be on CNN, I want to be an expert on scholarships and paying for college. And the question is, who should I pitch? So these were the anchors of American Morning on CNN at the time. John Roberts is the guy on the left. I think now he's a reporter for Fox News, I believe. And I pitched 15 plus CNN producers to try to get on the show. I pitched entirely through email. And what I did was I used personalized sort of bulk mail. So I did kind of like different things that were unique about each one. I kind of like merged them together so they got like a personalized thing. Now, what actually worked for me was I pitched here the people I weren't supposed to pitch. I pitched the hosts too, right? So I sent a pitch to the morning show host, and I sent the email at 4:35 a.m., okay? And the idea was that, okay, it's a morning show. They go on the air at 5. They're there. Other people are not pitching them, and they're probably like, I don't know, getting their makeup done or something like that, and sitting there on their computer, and maybe my pitch comes in. So sent the pitch at 4:35 a.m., sent it to both John Roberts and his co-host Kiran Chetri. 2 minutes later, I received a response from John Roberts, 4:37. Let's do it, forwarding to my producers. Right? 20 minutes later, I got a phone call from them. John Roberts really wants you on the show. They're like, okay, the $1 million talent wants you on. Let's do this. So sometimes, sort of the unexpected, when it comes to media, having something, we had a pitch of value, we had something unique, but even going to untraditional places, really, really powerful. And just to take this example through, so this is me. You can even see I have braces there if you look in the picture. I'm on CNN, and what we're doing now is how do we take that CNN appearance and establish my thought leadership from that to supercharge all my other activities. So here I got on. I did it remotely, so I'm doing this from Portland, Oregon. I didn't even go to New York to do it. And traction steps are how do we take that audience there and get them to a second and third example of our thought leadership. So if you look here, these are 2 parts of what we placed with the producers. One, they asked for my title. So I gave them publisher, cityofcollegedreams.org. Does anyone know why I chose that as my title? Why would I choose City of College Publisher, cityofcollegedreams.org as my title?
Name of your book.
It's name my website, right? It's like, okay, I can draw people to someone else, and if they don't mention it, it's guaranteed to be mentioned because it's my title. They have to mention it, right? So I did that there. You can see down below it says get college financial aid tips from Ben. If that finishes scrolling, it says on our blog. So the next thing I did was I contacted the web editor and said, hey, I'd love to do an article for your blog. I'm going to be a guest on the show. Right? So I've expanded that to another data point, another example. So now this is the CNN blog, and you can see here on the note, which I wrote, editor's note, Ben Kaplan is the publisher of cityofcollegedreams.org and the creator of Scholarship Super Camp. The online camp provides personal guidance from Ben, and basically we're getting on a site which is a top 100 site in the world. We're getting the SEO benefit of a link over, and they're promoting it directly, right? Simply by taking that initial sort of a part of thought leadership and looking to expand it in different ways. And so what that result from that one pitch for CNN, we had 10,000 new website users in 48 hours. We did $25,000 in direct product sales, $60,000 in revenue from business partnerships. So this is the part about pulling and attracting opportunities people to you. Once we were on that, people came out and wanted to do deals with us, even though I was just a young kid at the time. And then because CNN liked the segment, I became a regular interview guest on CNN. I would go on maybe, 6 to 8 times a year talking about different perspectives. So that's the power of looking for interesting ways to establish your thought leadership quickly. And sometimes it's just about, having a nice way to add something of value and then deliver it in a novel way. Okay, so other ideas. How else can you accelerate your thought leadership? What other strategies do you think might work? Let's shout some things out. What other things have people in this room done to establish your thought leadership?
Radio
Okay, he said, someone said radio interviews? Okay, radio interviews. Have you done a lot of radio interviews? Okay, you haven't yourself. Okay, so radio is great. And we're talking about mass media, but radio is great because it's often, you get a lot more time to talk about your expertise. TV is like 3 minutes. It's quick. It's fast. Radio, I sometimes would go on and go on for an hour and take caller questions. So radio is a great way. You can pitch it in many the same way. Okay, that's mass media. Ali, yeah?
Platforms like a blog or a podcast or a column.
Okay, so platforms like a blog or a blog or a podcast or a column, those are great. And what I would encourage you to do, though, as you do that, is that part about simple, surprising, significant, really important on the ideas. So sometimes people like think about, I have to have a whole body of work. I have to have like, this in-depth thing. These are all good things to have. It's good to be in-depth. I have to have a regular cadence of posts. Well, sometimes one post on the right sort of surprising, simple, significant ideas that then is seeded out far and wide is really, really effective. One example of what we'll do at PR Hacker is that in our social media feed, for a client or for ourselves, we'll place content that is like really compelling content right at the top that appeals to a certain audience. And then what we do is then we go, using both manual and automated tools, follow and like lots of people that are influencers that would respond to that content that's at the top. And then once they come in and they kind of check out, okay, who just liked me, or maybe they have their own tool to do this, they're seeing things there and ideas that are designed to specifically resonate with them. So one of the things you can do is to coordinate, and I think those of you who are on social media, a way to make it much more effective is it's a combination between the content you have and the growth tactics you use, and you put that in parallel. Largely for people, it's like one or the other. Either it's like, okay, I'm going to get great content, and if I build it, they will come, or I'm going to pay for views, or I'm going to use these growth hacking strategies. And what isn't done as much is let's sync up those two things. So if I have a really sticky idea, really great content, it's at the top of my feed, or it's at the top of my blog, now's the time that I need to ping and like and favorite and follow all these people that relate directly to that idea. So that's a second strategy. What else? What other things have people done here? Yeah, Kelton.
Clubs or groups.
Okay, so forming clubs or groups. So this is the idea of, can you put yourself in a group? And the cool thing, I learned this in high school when you had to get stuff on your college resume for activities and stuff like that. If you form the club, you basically can name yourself president of the club, right? It's like a very powerful strategy. No, so that's a half of a joke. But so can you organize groups of people around an idea? So if you want to extend the idea forward about how do you become more specific about that, thought leadership for homeschool and tech versus technology and homework and how that's connect, can we then assemble a group of people around that? And back in the day, you do that physically. Now, just doing that online, there's great power in that. And so what I would say, though, is a way to do this quickly and sort of like, okay, you might be thinking, yeah, I get that. I know I can form a group. I can form a meetup. But how do I do this more quickly? When you do that, but then use the other tools to accelerate. So if you're on the media and you're on TV and you're on radio and you're mentioning that group there, or you're using other things, it speeds up the process of doing that, right? So look for ways to do them together. What other ways can you speed this up? Yeah.
I'm going to say partnerships, like finding other people that are doing something similar to what you're doing.
Okay, yeah. So the question is partnerships. What else can you do? Partnerships. So this is something that's great because what you can do, we're using this strategy today for a campaign, is when you see people that are organized, this is kind of like Kelton's idea about organize a group, but using it to your advantage. When you see people, for instance, organizing around a hashtag, right? Maybe it's a hashtag of some cause. Maybe it's a hashtag of some campaign. The great thing is, it used to be 10 years ago when people would organize, it'd be on a hidden membership list that you can't get to. But now it's actually all public. You want to know everyone who believes in this cause that comes up? Is look at the hashtag and people who are there. Can you reach out to all of those people? Now there's automated tools to help you. So you can say, okay, anyone that's on hashtag World Cancer Day cares about doing something in regard to activism around cure for cancer. We want to form some kind of group because we have a healthcare brand or a startup or a company, or we're just an advocate, we want to do it. Let's target that. Let's look at all the people in the past that did that, right? So you can do those things. So like leveraging social that's public is a great way to gather people. Any other ideas? Yeah.
Brand drafting?
I'm sorry?
Brand drafting.
Brand drafting. Is that what you said? So drafting on another brand, is that kind of the idea of like, you know, like a cyclist, like they're kind of going and you're kind of behind them? What do you mean by brand drafting?
So we did.
Yeah, so absolutely. So what, and if you're watching on the live stream, you can hear exactly, but basically he was saying 2 examples. One where he hosted a podcast, created his own just from scratch, and it gave him access to certain people that came on. Their brand kind of had a halo effect on his brand because he was associated with them. And 2, he actually introduced 2 people together that he didn't know either, that wanted to know each other and kind of put himself as the middleman to broker that, and that was useful. I think the thing to do here is look at, and things like a podcast or other things that you produce can be great for access to people. So sometimes the reason to do it is not even just the audience, it's just the fact to have it, so the fact that you can interview people. And that's a tactic authors have used for a long time, like I'm writing a book on this, I'd love to interview you for my book. It kind of gives you a reason to talk to someone. So that's definitely a strategy. I think what we're looking for overall is how can we use the halos of media companies, TV shows, influencers, and others to accelerate this process. And I think we can give you some specific examples if we move to lightning pitches. Any last thoughts before we do the lightning pitch?